Welcome to Your Ag Empire. Today I'm talking with Erin Arick, an account executive at Figured, who is passionate about helping farmers and advisors use technology to simplify farm management, unlock growth, and make smarter business decisions. Farming has changed a lot in the past 20 years, but financial tools haven't always kept up. That's where Figured comes in. And it's a farm management software platform that is designed specifically for farmers, accountants, and ag lenders to work together in real time. We're diving into the future of ag finance, cloud-based accounting, and how tech can take the stress out of farm managing the farm finances. Plus, we'll talk about travel, Denver, and what life looks like outside of the spreadsheets. Erin, welcome to the
Love
pod.
it.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you, Jonathan. Also, thank you, Holly. I'm happy to be here.
We're glad to have you.
Yes.
Thanks. Looks a little different than our usual things every week, but this is awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's dive in. The first set of questions, what is Figured and how does it actually help farmers, and then how does it also help their financial team?
Yeah, so what is Figured? Figured is a farm financial tool. We were built in the cloud for the cloud. Our background originally out of New Zealand. So if you haven't heard of us, that could be because we're from there, but have been in the US for over 5 years now. And basically, the main purpose of our tool is that we noticed that there were gaps in the accounting tools that farmers were using. They weren't answering the questions that farmers are wanting to know, which is like, truly, how is my farm doing on a day to day basis and a season over season basis? And so, specifically, was built for the farmer and then also for their advisors, knowing that most farmers have people who are on their farming team that are helping them achieve their goals. And then at the core of everything, it provides real time financial insights, forecasting tools, inventory tracking, really just allows you to make better decisions, more knowledgeable decisions that if you're only using an accounting tool for your farm, you might not feel as comfortable with. And then I would say it bridges the gap between agricultural operations and then the financial insights that you're looking to have about your farm. Better understanding overall for the farming team and then your advisor if you're using one as a farmer.
Absolutely. That, if I remember correctly, I think the two founding members of the business, they both were farmers, if I remember that correctly.
Both were farmers, both were accountants. So
Okay.
definitely entered the space knowing what they wanted. And that was, they recognized, hey, the tools we're using right now are just not, they're not cutting it. Let's create something that works for us. And then the beauty of that was they could share it with their entire community and the entire industry, and then share it with the world. So we're in the US, we're in the UK, we're in Canada, we're in Australia, and we're in New Zealand with over 30,000 farms on our platform, so many different CPAs and ag consultants, banks, and then growing our integrations and every day just trying to refine the outputs and insights that the tool can provide for everyone on the farming team, which is pretty cool.
Absolutely. Holly, I talked to so many farmers and ranchers, and I want you to explain to our listeners a little bit about the difference between accounting. Everybody knows that they've got their books, they're doing it for tax purposes, but what's the difference between a managerial set of books and like where does that space fit in the farm and ranch world?
So I feel like we always say there's 3 set of books, right? But specifically talking to what you are, we have the set of books that I feel like lives in our traditional cloud accounting software, QuickBooks or Xero. Oftentimes we find that those are the set of books that we have ready to go for our tax professional, so to file taxes at the end of the year. Where Figured fits in and helps us is create kind of that second set of books where we're ready to go make decisions for our operations. So the
Mhm.
way that Figured works, and that will Erin will speak to, is that it treats your accounting software as the source of truth. They've told me that, and I just love that because all of your data stays and lives in QuickBooks. So you can still take that to your accountant. All that's fine. But when it feeds into Figured, you can have your set of books actually help you make better financial decisions. It has specific tools like valuations, so you can adjust your valuations based on current market data, do some accrual adjustments so that you're making better decisions from a managerial standpoint than just the book numbers that you have for taxes at the end of the year.
So
I hope
you're
that answered
telling
your question.
me that we're not living in make believe land of made up coffee shop budgets and financial data. You're actually using real time data. Erin, can you speak to that? This is real time
Yeah.
data that is actually going in. There's not a whole lot of make believe land that we're playing
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, we were built in the cloud. And knowing we wanted to base all the work that we do in Figured on the actual financials from the accounting tool, we have a built-in integration with Xero, QuickBooks Online, and then a more central tool to New Zealand and Australia. Actually, some of Canadian users are familiar too. We have MYOB. So basically, that integration pulls all the work that you do in the accounting platform into Figure to create a baseline for you to build on with production information. So I would say the most important things that you're going to be seeing, it brings in everything. So everything
So
from just
this
your,
being able to feed that data in,
yeah.
this is going to, we're all guilty of this. Like when we go to plant a crop for the year, we're looking at seed, fertilizer, chem, equipment,
Hmm.
land cost. But it's all the extra things that we're spending money on, like those indirect costs. Like you're going to be able to capture all of that also.
Yeah. In your accounting tool, a lot of people will utilize everything what you do in your accounting tool, it's trash in to trash out. So what you do in Xero or QuickBooks Online is very important. So if you feel really confident as a farmer in doing your accounting, that's awesome. But we've always suggested working with an advisor if you can. So actually prior to working at Figured, I worked at Xero, and that was what we said to every single user is trash in, trash out. There's a lot of data coming in from your bank, but the better that you have your books organized, the more insight and better decision making you can make. So a lot of people will utilize like classes and departments, and Holly, we've worked with that with you. So you can section out obviously in your accounting platform, okay, these expenses, these transactions are corn, these are soybeans. But what you're then able to do in Figured is keep adding on to those input costs and separate them out even by field, by season specifically, and be able to then also add your income, your harvest information, and then that on farm production data that doesn't really fit into your accounting platform. Figured then has the space for you to add in that information, like properties and again, like the field information, which is
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I think I'm going to interject a little. I think what I love about Figured is it can go from fairly simple to fairly complex, but in a good way. So there at the end,
really.
she was talking about getting numbers down to fields and properties, but also if you just want a place to start, because I know this is where I've ventured in with a lot of the clients that we serve. Hey, let's just get obviously your accounting numbers into a cloud-based accounting software. Let's pull it into Figured and let's just look at it on a season. Let's just see what
Mm-hmm.
was your actual true break even for last crop season. Then we can worry about fields and properties. So what's really cool is it's a tool that allows you to go all the way from fairly simple to fairly complex, but also there's no double entry. You
So
don't have
even
to
in
put it in
Figured,
again.
one of the things we always run into is profitability year over year.
Mm-hmm.
And if you hold over corn, 24 corn into 25, like it's always showed up on our profit and loss for 25. Were we actually profitable in 24? And I think sometimes that's been a question that a lot of lenders have wanted to know. But
Mm-hmm.
with Figured, we can actually isolate that down. If it's doing what I think it's doing. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a great call out, Holly. The thing about Figured is you can be as high level or as detailed as possible. So some people will strictly use Figured. They're using their accounting platform, say it's their cash basis, instead of creating a very complex spreadsheet or an array of different tools. They're strictly using then Figured as their accrual look at things. So you can
Hmm.
add some production data, such as the harvest, or looking at it as a fair market value balance sheet, or want
Hmm.
just an accrual projected cash flow. So you can use it strictly for that. And then as you become more comfortable in the platform, you're understanding Polly the things. I'm a farmer. I understand more the information you need from me on a monthly basis. You can dive deeper and deeper to get more insights as you're finding it valuable and understand. If I put a little bit more time into this, I am getting so much more insight out of it um, on a monthly basis rather than, okay, it's tax time, year end. I've gotten all
Yeah.
this information from my accountant. What can I even do now at this point in time? Whether I should have been looking at this all year long rather than right
Hmm.
now. I
Yeah.
like how you said to be high level, be simple about it. Let's just look at one thing. As you get more comfortable, get deeper and deeper
Yeah.
into the data.
Yeah. I love it.
One thing that I run into a lot talking to farmers and ranchers, and they've all got their own way of doing things. And it's a shoebox full of receipts. It could be a fancy spreadsheet. And why is it important for them to make the shift into a cloud-based accounting software? Why is there value, or how do I recognize the value that's there?
Yeah, yeah. I can tell you I've seen some really beautiful spreadsheets, the most
Yeah.
complex things you've ever can imagine. If you get down to it, those are prone to errors. They're difficult to share. I think if you share them with your whole team, none of you are getting back the same sheet that you started with. I think there's nothing more frustrating than when someone screws up one of the equations and then you're having to go back and re-edit everything. And I think now more than ever, those things have to be updated in every single day to keep up
Mm-hmm.
with
Hmm.
market changes, just variability in what you're planting, what you're seeding. So I think to me, that is the biggest value of having the live integration with your accounting platform is okay, at least that is I can trust is coming into Figured, and then I can build on top of that. I'm not having to change all of these inputs constantly to then work off of. So I definitely think one, being in the cloud, you obviously the collaboration is amazing to then be able to work with your whole team. But I do think that it limits the amount of touch points this data has, which the data integrity, there's just it's less prone to errors and you can trust what's coming in is correct, which
Yeah.
invaluable in my
I
opinion.
would say in dealing with in our clients, in our Empire Financial clients, I feel like the two benefits of being in the cloud is one, there's only one point of entry in terms of you don't have to I don't have to go put my all take all my bank statements and manually input them into my spreadsheet and then manipulate my spreadsheet with equations to come out with whatever I want to be the desired output. And for what I want might be different from what you want, might be different from what
Mm-hmm.
my banker wants. So I put the info into my cloud-based accounting software one time, and usually that's via a feed. So I'm not even actually manually inputting it,
Yeah.
right? It's feeding in through a bank feed. There might be some occasional entries I have to make manually, but for the most part, it's feeding into me. So the integrations and only putting it in once. So back to the integrations piece. If I'm in the cloud, now I've opened up the door for opportunities to sync with things like Figured or opportunities to sync with some of my production data. And so I feel like if you're wanting to move forward and actually dial into your operation to your numbers, like you have to start with the foundation, and that's getting your numbers into a cloud-based accounting software so that you can
Mm-hmm.
utilize these programs like Figured that I think are just changing the trajectory of how we manage our farms and ranches and operations.
And
Right.
I guess that would also streamline. A lot of times, farmers and ranchers, they do a profit and loss balance sheet. They put all this stuff together one time a year, do a bank renewal, and then they live off of that for the rest of the year. I guess This is going to help you
Mm.
make more data driven decisions instead of reacting on outdated information. And that's probably, I would say, that would be a huge benefit for an operation that's scaling and growing, that they have data that they can actually operate on halfway through the year, three-quarters of
Mhm.
the way through the year, and see if they're hitting those metrics that they're wanting to
Yeah, I
do.
Yeah.
think even in that, Aaron, speak to like scenarios and all the planning possibilities, I guess, with Figured, because I think that's a pretty cool tool that Figured can do that doesn't involve a
Yeah.
lot of spreadsheets and formulas.
Yeah. So our goal is really anyone can log into a farm at any time and be able to health check to get a very good idea of how the farm is doing throughout the entire year. So I love that point you made, Jonathan. If you're strictly going off of reports that you're creating just when you do a loan, who's to say that the next week that something doesn't happen that those are then out of date? So my goal with working with Polly, for example, and you is
Mhm.
you could log into one of your farmers' farms any point in time and just instantly know, okay, they're sitting here. We need to talk to them about this. We're looking in a couple months to do this, and then log out. Coming in on a monthly or quarterly basis and having a way better idea of where your client sits and talking to scenarios, Holly, like you mentioned, that would be what some people might prepare for a loan renewal, for example. So what that can do is it can basically act as a 5 to 10 year projection tool and give you an idea of where your farm will sit. You can pull in as much information from Figured as you'd like. So you
Mm-hmm.
are doing all this work within Figured. You're adding all this production information that you can bring in, or you can strictly start from a balance sheet and work from there, which is pretty cool. So you can either say, okay, this is the farm I'm working with right now. I'd like to see where it sits in 5 years, produce a balance sheet, cash flow, income statement, farm summary. You can say, I'm going to change everything up. I'd like to see what my succession plan would look like in this case. You can build that out from just a balance sheet that you are creating off the bat and get the reporting that way. So it sits as a unique tool within our platform because it can act pretty individually, or
Mhm.
you can pull in information from the farm. So you're not married to
Yeah.
a starting point, which I think is pretty
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
I think it's good right there to interject. I feel like a question that comes up a lot for me, which is not related to this, but what's cool to me about Figured, what you said, even in the scenario, like you can take the data and manipulate it, or start with Figured data coming in, or just start with a blank sheet. But I think the question I get a lot is, okay, whoa, you're talking about manipulating all this data and Figured, what's it doing over here to my QuickBooks? It doesn't,
Mm,
you can make it not, it doesn't feed back. So your QuickBooks data or your
right.
Xero data, your accounting software is staying the same. You're not
Hmm.
touching it, you're not changing it. It's staying exactly the same as whatever your accountant is doing or whatever you're doing in there, your bookkeeper is doing in there. But whatever
Hmm.
you're doing over in Figured is only living in Figured. So what's nice is you can do all this planning and all these scenarios and all these
Right.
things, and you're not touching your tax data or your accounting data so that
Yeah.
your accountant
Usually
doesn't
if
get mad at you.
Yeah, usually if something looks awry and Figured, my first question is, okay, did you look back at the accounting tool? Because all of the data we get in Figured is from there. So again, trash in, trash out. But that's
Mhm.
comforting as well, right? Is knowing, oh, if something doesn't look right, it's likely from the accounting tool. And we've actually had users find double charging from elevators and things like that, seeing that come Figured and looking at that data in a different way and seeing, oh wow, I was double charged for $30,000 for my elevator by accident. And that didn't just form and figure, that's coming from your bank. You
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
Sure.
investigate this. So it is a matter too of just, oh, we're seeing the data in a different way and maybe in a way in which I would like to think farmers think more in that kind of realm of I'm separating things out by seasons, I'm looking at my inputs and outputs for parts of the farm. It actually has shown the really things come to light that maybe in the accounting tool get lost in translation. Because I know sometimes my brain does not work in that way
Mhm.
of ledgers and chart of accounts and things like that. So I think that's a really good call out too.
Like, we've got so many things that we're battling right now in ag, the row crop side to even the livestock side. It's just our expense structure so crazy. Can this financial management, can it contribute to farm sustainability?
I'd like to think, yeah, I think it's a major contributor. I think it's one of the things that you can control in an industry that is so volatile, especially in these times. I think Figured allows you to be able to optimize resource use. You're getting more visuals on what it actually is taking to run every single day on your farm.
Mm-hmm.
I think it helps you, you've said this, Jonathan, get really real with the numbers. They're not going to lie to you. And I think on a loan perspective, it helps you easily create reports so that, okay, I do need better access to capital. This hasn't become this huge project I have to take on a month of my life. It can be, okay, we're investing X amount of time this month in pursuing that. So yeah, I'd like to think our main goal is really to help farmers have that longevity and sustainability of their operations, and that is really the basis of their farm financials. You can't control the weather,
I know.
Yeah,
so
I think your answer nailed it on the head. I think it is. It's not the only, but nearly the only way to keep yourself going. If you don't know your numbers, how you gonna keep moving forward? Because one day it'll catch up to you.
yeah, I think it's really easy to get overwhelmed. To
Mhm.
me, at least, and partners I worked with like yourselves, just knowing that there's something you can control,
Mm-hmm.
and at least saying, okay, I feel I have a grasp on this part of my operation. I know how much it's costing. I can look at each part of my operation, whether that's livestock, whether that's row crop, and understand my profitability and efforts going in and out. I think farmers and obviously their advisors find a lot of comfort in that.
Yeah. Do you think, like, what's the biggest challenge farmers face in adopting these new financial tools? You guys that
Change.
have
Yeah.
both been involved in this aspect.
I think it's change, honestly. I saw this at Zero too. I think a lot of times adopting new technology feels like it has to be this overhaul.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm investing in this whole new workflow. It's going to take so much time. I have to up I have to overhaul my entire staff and involve every single person, and I think like anything else, it's take it inch by inch, exactly how you described, Holly, starting very high level, determining what is my time value, how much time should I be investing in this at this moment to feel like it's paying off for myself,
Mm-hmm.
and then keep slowly adopting it. But change, I think it's definitely, Holly, would you agree with
Yeah.
everything you pitched too?
Oh yeah. 100%. Change and just fear of the unknown is like,
Mhm.
Hey,
how is this
there
going to my
truly is
spreadsheets?
bliss
What?
in ignorance.
Yeah. But it's how I know there are listeners out there. How many times have you said, I know my corn crop was profitable last year, but my P&L doesn't show it. And it's because we're not looking at the numbers
Mhm.
on a crop season, however detailed you want to get crop season. Like, how cool would it be? Open up Figured, pop open 2024 crop year, and hey, I know I had a profitable season. My P&L doesn't show up for 2024 because I held over my crop, or maybe
Mhm.
my beans were really bad, or cattle didn't
Mhm.
perform, or whatever the
So
situation would be. But anyway,
Figured can also, it serves as a storyteller, so
Mhm.
to speak, for the financial health and well being of the operation. And I think sometimes we take for granted. I had a client that pulled off his stuff from QuickBooks. He had a profit and loss balance sheet and all this good stuff. He sends it to the banker and he calls me and he says, "Hey, this is what I sent them." And I'm like, "Holy crap, why did you send that?" Because one, your balance sheet's horrible, and two, like it was not correct.
It doesn't
And
tell the right
it
story.
didn't tell the
Yeah.
story. Now, granted, they did the loan. I don't know how they
Mhm.
did, but they did do the loan. And I think it's important that we trust those numbers. And in that aspect, he trusted, but like you said, trash in, trash out. now that he saw the weakness that I saw, it really gave him a little bit of a complex. I want to make darn sure that these numbers are correct. And because I don't want to, he didn't know what he didn't know, and he didn't know that they were bad. He was actually happy he had some reports to turn in.
Yeah. I think that, yeah, that's a great point. And another challenge too is like, honestly, just general overwhelm, right? I think this is a very stressful industry. And coming from, before I worked at Figured, I had very little ag experience. And something I've noticed is the number of nuances and just general stress that this industry has to endure is unbelievable. And I think when you think of, oh, how is implementing this going to actually help me? Like, there's just no way that doing this is going to create all of this improvement and decrease my stress. I don't have time for that. And I think that is, it's just general overwhelm. And like, I understand how farmers are like resistant to it because until you don't know until and take that first step can be a lot of work. So I get it. I really do. I would say the change management aspect and just general overwhelm of the times, it's the biggest hurdles that I've seen people have to overcome to implement something like that.
Yeah, I would say that. And also, I'm sorry, Erin, I didn't mean to interrupt, but also, I also feel like this industry, we're very like independent. I can do it. And I feel like leaning into the help, whether it's software or a person or an advisor or a consultant.
It goes back to knowing the value of your time.
Yes.
Holly has been working in this program, and maybe whatever task, it may take you 5 hours to do it. It would take me or another farmer 20 or 25 hours to do that. So is it worth you peeling off and doing that, or having an advisor that you work with that's able to take care of that stuff? That I think is hard for us, and as we're all very independent. I think having that collaborative effort with another team, I think it's a struggle in this industry to accept that.
Yeah.
You can go to any other industry, and there are consultants and advisors in every facet of the business. And so I think for a lot of our farmers and ranchers that are stressed out there right now with their financial situation, maybe they've got a great one. Maybe everything's perfect. But for the ones that it's not perfect, realizing that you need a team on your side. Sometimes 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 heads are better than one.
Yeah. If I were a farmer, I would say, if you're going to tell me it's going to take 5 hours, I'd rather put 5 more hours out in the tractor. Like, what are you telling me? And then I would say people who then start into this research of, okay, I do want to make a change. I think you become even more overwhelmed because one person's telling you need to get an agronomist, another person's telling me I need to get a consultant. I maybe don't like my CPA. Do they really know all the nuances? So it does, if you're not having someone and you're not asking for help, I think you do exacerbate your problem. So yeah, get yourself a Holly or a Donovan who really cares about you. And if you feel like your advisors don't care about you, you need a new advisor because enough overwhelm. And if you have enough stress, like you need to at least feel that the person who has their hands in your finances is someone you trust and who wants you to succeed and who wants you to have longevity. And obviously us at Figured, we can try as much as possible, but these are the people you're working with every day. So yeah, that would be my solution to the kind of the change management and the overwhelm is, like you said, Holly, asking for help and feeling like you trust everyone on your team.
Absolutely. I know we work with you guys. Everyone at Figured has been phenomenal as support for us. We've been able to really be able to lean in on that with your expertise, and it's been great for our producers. We've been able to work through a lot of trying times. Figured, I want to do a little story time, but we had a client that was contemplating selling out the farm, and he had for 3 years. We got him into Figured, and we had at least 2 years of data that we could go in and look. And it clicked. We were having a meeting, and he looked at it and he said, I need to quit. Like at my prices where I'm at right now for my assets, if I quit now, I don't have to term out that 160 acres that I've got. He started to look through the scenarios of how he was going to continue to farm. And when we're looking at a budget on corn and beans and showing that he's going to lose money, like there was no path to profitability, he decided, I think this is a good plan. And it was Figured that allowed us to illustrate that rather than making an emotional decision. It was a numeric decision, and now he's in great shape financially.
There's a happy ending there. He gets to go be grandpa, and he came out profitable. It's not, I feel like some people might hear that and be like, oh, it's going to show me the numbers and I'm scared. I don't want to quit farming. It's what I know. It's what I do. But like the end of that story is a happy one. He is happy with his decision. He gets to go live, and he's still got his hand in farming, right? Like he's still doing some custom work. He's still hauling.
He's actually
Anyway,
still
I just
farming,
know
just on a smaller scale.
on a smaller
And
scale. So I feel like we're always looking at get bigger through utilizing these tools, and that might be your situation. But it was also interesting to get to walk alongside someone going through that scenario, because I still feel like it still came through like in a happy, good ending.
Yeah. He dragged his feet and ended up in a way lesser.
I think what was really cool about that is to go from 2,500 acre farm with all the equipment, infrastructure, and everything that they had, and to see you lose 300 acres. Okay, you farm, you keep doing it, and then the next year development comes in, you lose another 300 or 400 acres, and then now we've got 2,500 acres worth of equipment and infrastructure on a 1,200 acre farm. And so it's okay, how do you unwind that? And so the debt load gets bigger. And I think as we were digging into this individual's stuff, it got him back to where he's trucking, he's doing some other stuff, he's got a little bit of farm, some cattle. He's smaller, but he's able to make 50, 60 grand now rather than in years past. He's always been at a sum zero game, waiting for the new operating note and carrying that over. There was really no profitability for the last 5 or 6, 7 years. And I know we have farmers and ranchers that are listening in that are going to feel that, and because they're living it. I know they are. And so
you don't know until you
exactly.
I'm going to switch gears a little bit on you. I'm sorry, but you know me, I love the mountains and I love Colorado. So I want to talk to Erin a little bit about Denver and living in Colorado and what's life like living there on a day-to-day, because I'm jealous, if I have to admit.
It's awesome. To be honest, I didn't choose Denver. So before I got into tech, before I worked at Xero, before I worked at Figured, I actually was in hospitality. I worked for Marriott, which was amazing. So I was assigned a hotel out here. And I'd grown up coming out here because my great uncle lived out here. So we would visit and obviously loved the mountains. And coming from Indiana, it was this very rare place. It was magical. So when they assigned me, I could have come to Denver, Phoenix, or San Antonio. They put me in Denver, and I said, okay, I'm gonna go out there. I packed up all my stuff. Me and my best friend drove the 18 hours from Indianapolis and got in a fender bender. So that was like, oh no, is this a sign? Is this not the right move? Middle of Kansas City. I swear Kansas City has the craziest exits. But then got out here, got settled, and haven't thought about leaving ever since. It truly is, it's a really cool place because I think living in Indianapolis, we had a lot of diversity. And you have people from all walks of life, which is really cool. And then out here, I feel it's quite a mix of people as well, but almost like a lot younger living in the city. I didn't grow up in a city. So it's really fun to have a mix of minds and people from all over the country. You do get a lot of people coming from everywhere. And then being an hour from the mountains, to be like in the mountains is amazing. Yeah.
So fun. Yeah.
Now there are some downsides living here. I love the mountains, and so does everyone here. So traffic can sometimes be a downer, but it's so worth it to just feel like really in nature and ski and hike and fish and raft and do all the things that, being in the Midwest. We had Lake Michigan, which was honestly, I think, so
Yeah,
underrated. Like, it's such a beautiful
beautiful.
lake and area, but yeah, here it's more extreme. You get to do the extreme stuff,
Yeah,
Sure.
for sure.
which I'm
Yeah.
sure I won't be doing forever, but it is fun right
Why
now.
not? Yeah.
Yeah, you guys got to get out here. We'll go skiing or
Yes.
Oh,
at least.
Yeah,
I
we
love
love
the
to
mountains.
ski.
I could get lost up there.
Ski,
Yeah,
fish, hike, all the things. Fun times.
yeah. And
Guys,
then I wanted to hear. I love to travel. I know we are going to talk a little
Yeah,
about travel. Y'all just did a real big travel trip.
we
oh my
did.
goodness.
My
Yeah,
Yeah.
going
What?
so far.
we
Yeah.
So Jonathan and I got to travel to New Zealand to attend the Figured annual summit, Agri-Finance Leader Summit, I think is the whole term. It was amazing. I think I have talked and talked about it to everybody that will listen. And I'm not a talker, so to be honest, that's saying a lot. But I feel like it was just amazing on so many levels. I don't know, Jonathan, do you want to speak a little bit to that, and then I can fill in some
Oh yeah.
gaps too?
It was awesome getting to serve on the panel and getting to speak with a global group and
Mhm.
realizing that a lot of the same challenges that we've had in agriculture exist. It doesn't matter where we are, and I think it was interesting and eye opening to see that.
And sometimes be comforting, right? Like,
Yeah, we're not
oh
alone.
wow, yeah, we're not alone. Literally everyone all over the world is facing these same issues, and you can learn from each other. And I think it's very beautiful.
And I also would say that trip really solidified the fact that we're working with the right group. I
Mm,
think the team that I mean, we've got to meet from the CEO down to everybody in every role. And
Mhm.
I have grown to consider everyone our friends. And it's really neat
yeah.
because if there's a farmer that has an issue, I can get on a call with someone on the development team and
Mhm.
we can figure out how to make changes. The goal that Figured has at hand is to solve problems. And it's how do we do that? Let's try to do that
Mhm.
the best way we can.
Yeah, I'm
Ab-
glad you brought that up because something I love about Figured and has working with Erin and with the Figured team. Yeah, if I'm like, can we make this better? Like they're gonna like there was a select all button. Like even just as recent as like last 2 weeks, I was like, can we just have a select all button? And they made it happen. Like by the time I met with them the next week, it was there.
And
So
I
yeah,
literally just got an email about some new reporting, and it was like, hey, we want your
yeah, I'm super
feedback
excited.
before we actually open this up. And you feel valued. And I think that's important when you're working with a company that's trying to solve problems,
Mhm.
that you're being
Yeah.
listened to, that you're being heard. And then we
Mhm.
know, and it gives us hope that our customers are getting that level of service and getting that product that's going to be able to help get them to the next level.
Well, gosh, I had COVID and I got sick, and I called your team, and they got on the client call for me because I was so sick and couldn't do it. It was just
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. It was
Yeah, which is
great.
fun for us too, because we
Yeah,
love talking to the
yeah,
end user, right? But yeah, like you mentioned, Jonathan, we're trying to solve problems for a very nuanced industry, a very complex industry,
Hmm.
especially here in the US. Obviously, coming from New Zealand, it's a much smaller country.
Sure.
They are still facing the same issues. And so, having partners like yourselves and farmers using our product every day, we really try to implement as much as we can that can make your lives easier. Um, kind of one select all button at a time. There you go.
That's right.
exactly. Huh.
Erin,
Yeah,
where can people find you and learn more about Figured?
yeah. So I'm on LinkedIn. I'm happy to chat with anyone on there. I'll also we can link figure.com. I think that's a great way. And then I do believe Empire Ag, you have a landing page about Figured on your website. So it's a great way to see how an advisor is using it. And then you're able to create a free login. So we have a little demo sandbox farm in there so you can try things out, see how it works, and then find an advisor like Jonathan and Holly who's utilizing it
Mhm.
and help you dive in and get your own data in there, which we do think is the best way of judging if this is a good fit. for my farming operation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I guess we're gonna call it good here.
Call it good
Yeah.
here. Well, it's been great talking with
Yeah.
y'all. Always a pleasure, and thanks for having me.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Erin.
Thanks for tuning in to Your Ag Empire. If this conversation got you thinking, share it with a friend who would appreciate it. And don't forget to hit follow so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time.